When an NHL player signs a contract with a team, the money within that contract is guaranteed. So even if they suffer a career-ending injury, or if the team just doesn't want them anymore, that doesn't matter. The player is going to get paid no matter what. So with that being the case, sometimes this leads to players getting paid from a contract that they signed throughout their playing career, even after they are retired or haven't played in years. Now there's actually a lot more than just 10 cases of this, but I didn't want to talk about 15 or 20 players in this video. We'd be here all day, so I figured I'd just narrow it down to 10. But real quickly, before we go any further, you guys know the drill. Be sure to go follow my socials like Instagram and Twitter if you want to talk hockey with me somewhere other than YouTube. Links to those will be down below in the description. And of course, if you guys are new to this channel and you want more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And now let's talk about 10 retired NHL players still getting paid by their former teams. Number 10, we have my favorite NHL player of all time, Henrik Zetterberg. On September 14th of 2018, so following the 2017-18 season, Henrik Zetterberg announced his retirement due to back issues. That was a pretty sad day for me. Now at the time Zetterberg announced his retirement, he still had 3 years left on his 12-year $73 million contract that he signed with the Red Wings back in 2009. This contract carries an annual cap hit of $6.083 million. Luckily for the Red Wings, there's this wonderful thing called the long-term injured reserve, which Zetterberg is still currently on, so he's getting paid still, but his cap hit doesn't actually count against the salary cap. So over the past 2 seasons, Henrik Zetterberg has still been raking in that $6.083 million to not play, and that's going to be the case again this upcoming season, which is the final year of this contract. I'm sure Zetterberg wishes he was able to play out his contract. I truly believe if he was healthy, he would still be playing. It's not like he was bad in the latter years of his career. His final season, he put up 56 points on a bad Red Wings team. Nonetheless, I'm sure Zetterberg has certainly enjoyed bringing in over $6 million a year in the early years of his retirement. At number 9, we have CODY HODGSON. Anybody remember him? At one point, he was seen as a pretty promising young player. The former 10th overall pick had a 19-goal rookie season shared between the Vancouver Canucks and the Buffalo Sabres back in 2011-2012. For various different reasons, he was never really able to carve out much of an NHL career, playing in just 328 games, and although he's only 30 currently, he hasn't played a game since the 2015-16 season and officially announced his retirement in the fall of 2016. However, ever since then, CODY HODGSON has still been reaping the benefits of a 6-year, $25.5 million contract he signed with the Buffalo Sabres all the way back in 2013, a contract that had an annual cap hit of $4.25 million. Now, CODY HODGSON isn't still bringing home that $4.25 million. The contract was actually supposed to expire following the 2018-19 season, but the Sabres bought out the contract pretty early on back in 2015, and a buyout pretty much just lowers the player's cap hit and stretches it out for a longer period of time. So in CODY HODGSON's case, he has been bringing home $791,667 a year and will continue to do so until the conclusion of the 2022-2023 season. Now, that's not a ridiculous amount for professional athletes, but for a guy who hasn't played a professional game since 2016, that's not bad. Number 8, we have Mikhail Grabovski. He's somebody whose peak in the NHL was short and sweet. He had back-to-back 50-plus point seasons with the Maple Leafs in 2010-11 and 2011-12, but after that, for the remainder of his career, the results were pretty disappointing. Luckily for Grabovski though, he was able to cash in big after that second 50-point season, signing a 5-year, $27.5 million contract with the Maple Leafs on March 6 of 2012. Now, Grabovski's first season with this contract was the lockout-shortened 2012-13 season. He put up pretty disappointing totals, and after the league emerged from that lockout-shortened season, there was a new CBA, and the landscape of the entire league had pretty much shifted. So the NHL awarded each team with 2 compliance buyouts, which is pretty much get-out-of-jail-free cards. It works like any other buyout. You still have to pay the player over a period of time, but they cost $0 against the salary cap. The Maple Leafs, realizing that they probably made a mistake signing Grabovski to that contract to begin with, used one of those compliance buyouts on him. They bought him out on July 4th of 2013, so his contract lasted a whole 1 season. Ever since the buyout back in 2013, Grabovski has been on the Leafs payroll, bringing in $1,791,667 a year and will continue to do so through this upcoming season, which is the final year the Leafs are going to be paying him. Number 7, we have the infamous Rick DiPietro, the first overall pick from the 2000 NHL draft. Had 1 or 2 solid seasons throughout his NHL career, but for the most part was pretty disappointing, especially considering the fact he was a first overall pick. pick. Safe to say that DiPietro never lived up to the 15-year, $67.5 million contract that the Islanders signed him to back in 2006. It's still crazy to even think that that actually happened. We talk about contracts in the NHL today that are risky, like the Josh Anderson 7-year deal for an example. That is nothing compared to 15 years. Luckily for the Islanders though, they were saved by those 2 compliance buyouts following the lockout shortened season. A lot of teams were saved by those. I mean, I wish the league would award Detroit with one right now so they could buy out Franz Nielsen. Anyways, the Islanders obviously used one of their compliance buyouts on Rick DiPietro's contract, but there was still a lot of years left, a lot of money to still be paid, so ever since that buyout in 2013, the Islanders have been paying DiPietro $1.5 million a year. And the Islanders will continue to pay DiPietro that $1.5 million a year until the conclusion of the 2028-29 season. That is just insane. To break this down a little bit more and perhaps blow your mind a little bit more, $1.5 million divided by 365 is a little over $4,100. So ever since this buyout happened, Rick DiPietro has been making a little over $4,100 a day and will continue to do so for a very long time, even though he hasn't played a professional hockey game since the 2013-14 season. Number 6, we have Ryan Kesler. I'm kind of cheating here a little bit because technically Kesler hasn't officially retired yet, but I think it's safe to say he's probably played his last NHL game. He really hasn't been the same since his hip surgery prior to the start of the 2017-18 season. Kesler said after that he basically had to learn how to skate again. I can't even imagine how that must have been for him. Ryan Kesler was still able to play 44 games in the 2017-18 season and 60 games in the 2018-19 season, but he underwent another hip surgery in May of 2019 and hasn't played a game since. Of course, Kesler and his $6.875 million cap hit have been on the long-term injured reserve for a while now and will probably be for the following 2 seasons until his contract expires, so he's gonna get paid whether he plays or not. Injuries really suck, man. I mean, the last season Kesler played where he was actually healthy, he was still a really productive player. In the 2016-17 season, he had 22 goals and 58 points, and I remember him going at McDavid in the playoffs that year. He made McDavid's life just miserable. At number 5, we have Stephen Weiss, who was one of the many bad contracts that Ken Holland signed in an attempt to just keep the Red Wings playoff streak alive and well for as long as he possibly could. A 5-year deal, $24.5 million total. This was signed back in the summer of 2013. It was following the lockout shortened season where Weiss only had 4 points in 17 games, so even at the time this was a pretty questionable signing. Weiss lasted all but 2 seasons with the Red Wings, putting up a total of 29 points in 78 total games, and then the Red Wings bought out the remainder of his contract on June 30th of 2015. Ever since the buyout, the Red Wings have been paying Stephen Weiss $1,666,667 a year and will continue to do so through this upcoming season, which is the last year they have to pay him. And this was not a compliance buyout or anything like that either. That amount of money has actually been counting against the salary cap for the Red Wings, so it'll be nice to have that off the book soon. Moving on now to number 4, we have ILYA BRYZGALOV, who I think is everybody's favorite former NHL goaltender, right?
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Following the 2011-12 season, the Philadelphia Flyers wanted to make a decision in terms of which goaltender they wanted to move into the future with, Sergei Bobrovsky or ILYA BRYZGALOV. As we all know, the Flyers would trade Bobrovsky to the Blue Jackets and then sign BRYZGALOV to a 9-year, $41.88 million contract extension. And it certainly didn't take the Philadelphia Flyers too long to realize that they had made a mistake here. Bobrovsky's first season with the Blue Jackets, he literally won the Vezina Trophy as the league's best goaltender, and Bobrovsky on the other hand, well, he put up a .900 save percentage in the first year of this new deal, and after just 1 season, the Philadelphia Flyers decided to use one of those compliance buyouts to buy out the remainder of his contract. Those are coming up a lot in this video. Since this buyout occurred just 1 year into BRYZGALOV's 9-year contract extension, there was obviously a lot of money still left to be paid, so ever since the 2013-14 season, the Flyers have been paying him $1,642,857 a year and will continue to do so until the conclusion of the 2026-27 season. I'm sure BRYZGALOV has definitely been enjoying retirement making that kind of money every year. At number 3 now we have Christian EHRHROFF. I'm sure some of you watching this video aren't even familiar with him, but man, EHRHROFF was an extremely productive offensive defenseman for a couple of years. He even had a 50-point season with the Canucks in 2010-2011, and for EHRHROFF, that 50-point year came at a great time because after that season, he was an unrestricted unrestricted free agent, and he cashed in, signing a 10-year, $40 million contract with the Buffalo Sabres. Now, EHRHROFF did actually play 3 seasons in Buffalo, but he didn't really produce at the rate I'm sure the Sabres would have liked, so after that 3rd season, they took advantage of, once again, one of those compliance buyouts and bought out the remainder of his deal. After this buyout, EHRHROFF did stick around the league for a little while, having stints with the Penguins, the Kings, and the Blackhawks, but was out of the league following the 2015-16 season, and then would play his final 2 professional seasons in the DEL. He's been retired for a while now, but is still bringing in $857,143 a year and will continue to do so until the end of the 2027-28 season, all due to that 10-year deal he once signed with the Sabres. Next up, at number 2, we have Brad Richards, who is definitely one of the more disappointing free agency signings of all time after he signed a 9-year, $60 million contract with the Rangers back in 2011. Now, Richards did still produce points at a decent rate throughout his 3 seasons with the New York Rangers, but he definitely was not the superstar player that the Rangers signed him to be. An annual cap hit of a little over $6.5 million might not seem like a ridiculous amount in today's NHL, but back then that was a lot of money to be paying a guy every single season who wasn't exactly giving you what you had hoped. So, what do you know? I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this. The Rangers took advantage of one of those darn compliance buyouts and bought out the remainder of Brad Richards' contract on June 20th of 2014. For the first 3 years of this buyout, Richards made $3,055,556 a year. In the 2016-17 season, which was actually the first year of Richards' retirement, he made $5,055,556 to not play. I'm sure that was a great way to start his retirement. And ever since the 2017-18 season, Richards has been making $1,055,556 a year and will continue to until the 2025-26 season is over. And now finally, at number 1, we have Vinny LECAVALIER. I wanted to save him for last because to this day, he is actually still the most expensive buyout in NHL history. After the lockout shortened 2012-13 season, even though LECAVALIER just put up 32 points in 39 games, the Lightning decided that they wanted to go in a different direction, and it had a little something to do with those compliance buyouts again. On June 27th of 2013, the Lightning would buy out the remaining 7 years of LECAVALIER's contract that carried an annual cap hit of $7.727 million. There was obviously a lot of money still left to be paid, so right now, in 2020, the buyout is still actually only halfway done. LECAVALIER is going to be on the Lightning's payroll, making $1,761,905 until the end of the 2026-27 season. Considering everything LECAVALIER has done for the Lightning franchise though, how amazing he was throughout his entire career there, I'm sure the Lightning have no problem paying him that amount of money every year. That is going to do it for today's video. Those were 10 retired NHL players still getting paid by their former teams. Like I said at the start of the video, there are plenty more than just 10 examples of this, but I didn't want to talk about like 15 or 20 players in this video. Just imagine making all that money in your retirement. That must be nice. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.